Hi, my name is Heather Wilson, and I am the founder of Kennedy's Angel Gowns. I'm here with a very special guest, Miss Kayla, who is going to talk to us about her infertility journey and a little bit about cuddle cots and how she's gained knowledge in knowing the importance of them. So, hi, Kayla. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so glad you could come join us.
Yes, me as well.
So, I want to talk to you a little bit about infertility, and especially with your situation, what diagnosis do you have? Because I know that you do have a child that is, your son's about what, 3 or 4?
3.5.
3.5. Look,
Yeah.
right on.
Uh,
So tell us
um,
a little bit about your infertility journey.
so we got pregnant fairly easy with my son Hugh. And then we started trying in March of 2018. And we had our first ectopic pregnancy in September of 2018. And I had no real pre-existing conditions, or there wasn't really a reason. And the doctor sort of said, it's a fluke, try again. And then in April timeframe of 2019, we got pregnant again naturally, and it ended up being another sort of, they weren't really sure if it was ectopic or not, but it ended in another miscarriage. Mm-hmm. And again, it was kind of one of those, it's a fluke, you're fine, keep trying. And by November of last year, we decided to call the Jones Institute. And at that point, we started having testing done, and we had another very early miscarriage, and then another one like around 6 or 7 weeks again, a few months later. And through the Jones Institute, they've kind of called it secondary infertility, with like thoughts about maybe there being a tubal issue, but they're not 100% sure. So they kind of just put it under the umbrella term of secondary infertility.
Okay. Did you lose a tube during any of the ectopics?
No, I did not. I had, with the first one, I had 2 doses of methotrexate, which is pretty horrible. But I did not ever lose a tube, which sort of, at first, you think, oh, you don't ever want to lose a tube. But what my doctor sort of said was, sometimes when you lose a tube, then it's not a risk anymore. But in my situation, it's always going to be sort of an underlying risk.
Right. So that it's tough in any situation, but I'm sure it's enhanced now that we have COVID-19 that we're going through right now.
Yes.
How has that affected you with trying, with anything that you were going to move towards during this time?
So we were actually in the process of starting, and it was canceled in light of everything that's happened. So it was tough. We sort of felt like we were just getting our feet in front of us, and we were just starting to move ahead. And then all of a sudden it was like this big giant pause. So it was frustrating.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't know if, well, I think you have heard that we're doing a hashtag, Brave Through Grief. And although you haven't experienced a stillborn, you still have experienced multiple miscarriages. And that's a grieving process. I think even infertility is a grieving process. How are you being brave through grief?
The big one for me is my son. I think that he has sort of helped me to see what grief looks like through the eyes of a little person. And I think what I've sort of learned from him is that grief and being brave can happen simultaneously. And the big thing, like the most important thing for me with Hugh, is to show him that bravery can be tears and it can be sadness, but it can also be really beautiful in the getting back up part of it. And I think that it's just been really a gift to have him through this, to kind of be the light in those dark, dark times.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That really is. Do people call you brave? Do you get told you're brave often?
It's kind of interesting. I don't know that I've heard those words specifically, but I like to share my story. And I think that if not, someone calling me brave, I hope that I can instill braveness in others and encourage them to share their stories. Like, I think that's, for me, that would be more important than someone saying you're brave, is being able to give the gift of bravery to someone else through my story.
Do you have a support system right now? I know you're very close to your mom, your parents. Do you have a support system of those that have experienced what you're going through?
Yes, I actually started seeing a therapist that specializes in IVF. I found support in a loss group on Facebook, and I sort of was kind of quiet. And then a woman spoke up and said, I'm starting this IVF coaching for people that have experienced loss and that are seeking IVF treatments. Is there anyone that would like to kind of be a guinea pig? And I jumped on that really quick. And she is an incredible wealth of knowledge. And she has really helped me to find, we call it strong Kayla, or in this case, brave Kayla.
Brave Kayla, yeah. You'll have to share that information with me as well. Yeah, I'd love to share it with others. Are you still in the guinea pig phase, or is she accepting?
She is looking for more people. And she is really a pretty amazing person to talk to.
Wow, that's awesome. So we obviously, you would not have a use for the Cuddle cot with how early on you did lose your angels, but I'm sure you can see and express how important they are. And we're trying to get people to speak up about why it's so important to donate, to get more Cuddle cots in every hospital. Can you speak to that? Can you tell our viewers why it's extremely important to donate towards Cuddle cots?
Yes. So I have a friend, and her son was born sleeping, and I really didn't have a lot of background knowledge before that happened, and that was several years ago now. I think almost 5 years ago, and I became sort of fixated on learning more and learning how to be a support as best I could, and that was before I had children of my own. But through that, it sort of has encouraged me to find out more information. And when I think about a family that needs a Cuddle cot, they also need time. Time to grieve, time to process, time to cry, time to rage, time to do all those things. And the gift of a Cuddle cot gives them time. And I think that is a pretty important thing during a time where there isn't much else you can give that family.
Right. I think it's so important, and I think you summed it up just perfectly. So Kayla, what are some common questions or statements you get in regards to your infertility?
I think one of the big ones is the phrase "at least," and it's something that I know comes from a good place, and it's the sky's the limit. At least you have a son. At least you didn't lose your tube. At least you lost the pregnancies early on. And I think the thing with that is it doesn't acknowledge the grief involved with trying for another child or to grow your family, simply just to grow your family. It's and like I said, it comes from a good place, and so it makes it sort of challenging as the recipient of the phrase, right, to sort of graciously say, I don't want to hear that.
Right.
That's not really helpful.
I heard everything from, "You're so young, you can try again."
Oh, yeah.
My child just, like my
Yeah.
child just died. That's
Yeah.
the best thing you could think of to say. And like you said, maybe I think people don't know what to say. And they're at a standpoint where they want to say something, they don't know what to say. And so 9 times out of 10, it does end up being very hurtful.
Yeah, and I think what I have found is that as humans, and I know this for myself too, I want to fill the space with words. I want to fill that empty sadness with words.
We want to fix it.
And sometimes what a grieving person needs is just space to be. And I think that through speaking to people that have gone through this, or to that IVF coach, or anyone that has experienced loss in any capacity, basically just acknowledging that like you're allowed to have a limit. Like when COVID canceled our first treatment,
right.
Everybody wanted to say, "Oh, but I'm so grateful because I was worried," or, "Oh, I'm actually kind of grateful because," and I learned pretty quickly to say, "I don't want to hear any buts. I'm just happy with you saying I'm sorry that it was canceled."
Right. Yeah. And you have to protect yourself and your feelings, and put your foot down sometimes and say what's on your mind too, because I mean, that's what they're doing. They're literally
And it's hard, but
it is, but we have to stand up for ourselves. You have to protect your heart. What are some things you would rather hear when someone says, "So, but at least," when they announce those "at least," what are some things you'd rather hear or might be more supportive?
I think with that, you're really brave. This really stinks. I'm really thinking about you. Can I bring you tacos? Just something. I mean, I think like the beauty in this is that it has affected so many people that we know, that it opens up this level of connection between people to say, "I've been where you've been," maybe not the exact process, but I felt your feelings and I just want to be there to feel them with you.
Right. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's literally just a listening ear. Let's go grab coffee. Just listen to me vent. Whatever. It's much smaller than I think what people make it out to be, this big thing. And it's just, I want to just be in my space. I might want to be alone right now, or I might want you to just come and give me a hug, just kind of being there, just be there.
And I think the other thing, and sort of how I came to find more about your organization, was when you find other people are suffering, I want to make it my job to learn more about what it means for them. And, whether that's looking up an organization like yours, or figuring out what a cuddle cot is. Like, I think those things are important because you're speaking to that person in a much more pointed way than just saying, "I'm really sorry."
Right. Like, here's what I found. And that I can speak to that too. When this first happened to Dimitri and we started, like, he really went on research mode. Whereas I went directly into like just grieving and being isolated. He went into research mode. And when we started to bring gowns to the hospitals and we started to realize how many African Americans this was affecting, it blew my mind. And that's exactly what happened. I just really started to dig and dig and dig and see, how can I help? What can I do? And it sent me on a spiral. And so everyone always says, "Oh, you got to slow down. You got to slow down." And I'm like pumped and ready to I don't want to say fix it, but I'm ready to be the person that spreads awareness, the person that people can call to get resources. I want to be able to help them in their time of need. I recently just signed up to be a doula because that's something that's missing. And I'm really
That's what I want to be when I grow up too.
Really?
Yes.
My gosh, we have to talk more.
Yeah.
So I'm learning so much. But yeah, it is. It does make me want to dig and find, like I said, we can't fix it, but at least even the subgroups or the support groups that you can go to not feel alone, to know that you're not alone, to know that you can lend an ear, to know that there are people that are going through and experiencing the same thing. I think that's where my head goes to immediately, to let's get you connected. Let's show you what's out there.
And I think one other thing that I found is really speaking up at my doctor's offices and sharing my feelings and sharing my history so that they are a little bit more aware, because I think as humans, we expect our doctors to be all knowing, but they are still humans.
Kayla, I switched doctors at 6 months with Riley.
Yeah, I switched doctors after my first ectopic. I switched, and I wasn't, I think, and I went through the practice with my pregnancy with Hugh, and I remember at some point asking a question about what if something was wrong, like during an ultrasound, and I was like, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And I remember the ultrasound tech looking at me and saying, "Why are you asking this?" And it was like, because I know that it happens, and I want to educate myself. But I think that as a society,
don't belittle me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because this is my child.
Yeah. And it was, it was such like, and again, that was before my miscarriages.
Right.
But I remember just thinking like, gosh, like, shouldn't you be willing to share the other side? But I don't think people.
No, it's hushed. It's silenced. And people don't advocate for themselves. You're absolutely right. And so that was a huge step when we did that. We were 6 months pregnant, and I just lost a child. I was super high risk. I went to the specialist, which I won't say their names. I went to the specialist and I said, at 6 months, I had preeclampsia with my first pregnancy. At 6 months, you haven't tested my urine once. And this will be our last time here. We have not seen a doctor. It had been 6 months. We've seen PAs, not that they're not as experienced, but I considered myself very high risk, and it was very concerning to me. So at 6 months, we went back to the doctor who delivered Kennedy, and I felt comfortable. That was my comfort zone. And I think my family, when everything happened, they were like, you need to find a new doctor. They were just very adamant about, I think they just needed someone to blame.
Yeah.
And what our hearts told us is that we were comfortable with that doctor. And we did end up going back, and it was the best decision that we could make.
I remember being pregnant with Hugh. And again, it was about a year after my friend lost her son. And one of the things that like I sort of researched, which, after the fact you can't test for, but is ICP. And I can't ever say the whole name out. We might have to Google that. But it's something with liver enzymes. And I remember going in right around like 30 or 32 weeks and asking the doctor, because it's a blood test.
Right.
And I was like, can you just preventatively, like, that's what's been, I've fixated on that. I need to just know. And she was like, well, you're not showing any signs. We're not going to do that. And I remember leaving and thinking to myself, gosh, if it's a simple blood test to alleviate the stress of a mom or, a birthing person, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And that's that whole piece of advocating and saying, no, I want it.
Yeah, I have insurance, and this is what I want. Yeah.
And with my ectopic, it took me 5 days for them to believe me that something was wrong, because I knew something was wrong. And when I finally went in, I'll never forget the PA that saw me said, "Wow, how did you catch this so soon?" And I remember just
body.
I was like, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
But it was incredible because I had to fight to get that appointment. I had to fight over and over and over again, calling over and over and over again, saying something's not right.
Something that could be deadly to you and your baby, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any last words for our viewers?
I just think that the idea of being brave through grief it's so profound, and it really is such a gift to have that power within yourself.
Yeah, it is, because you are in control of that, and once you recognize your bravery, oh my gosh, sky's the limit.
Yeah,
we can do amazing things. I'm so glad that we can just openly share and bring awareness and be our own advocates. So
yes.
I'm thankful for you and your bravery, and I'll continue to pray for you through this journey. And I can't wait till you come back and tell us about the end of this journey and how you have been blessed. So we look forward to many, many more talks with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. We love you, and we're so grateful for what you're doing.
Thank you.